Let's talk about the Big 12 championship game. TCU, Kansas State. This is a noon Eastern time kickoff on ABC Saturday. This one was an instant classic last year. I was, next door, and I was watching on the monitor. The SEC championship game is going on, okay? And as it's going on, you got Baylor and Oklahoma State playing down to the wire. You remember how that game ended. Baylor, they are putting up a goal line stand for the ages. Dave Aranda's heartbeat never gets above 85, and they win the game. I think this kind of game could unfold similarly. I think it could be the game of the day, and I think that you can't help but look back when these two teams played earlier this year. 28-10 was the score. Midpoint second quarter, TCU is well behind. I think Kansas State's putting it on them. I put that game over to the side because I was at another game. So you can imagine my surprise when I see the final score and it's 38-28, and I think there's no way TCU just went on a 28-0 run, except that TCU went on a 28-0 run. And as the season has gone along, these two teams have separated themselves. That's why they're going to play in Arlington Saturday. The first half, second half thing, which we got burned by in the TCU-Texas game, I'm going to hit on it one more time. I'm going to tell you one more time. Kansas State, first half, they are plus 122 point margin. They're dominating first halves. TCU, second half, they're plus 107 point margin. So look, I'm probably going to put some money on Kansas State first half. I did it with Texas, and they proceeded to get shut out first half. So that was always fun. What does the game mean overall? I know we got the playoff backdrop here. I'm a believer TCU is 95% in the playoff. I am not a believer that if they get blown out, they're just still in. And I know what the arguments are. I could make the pro TCU argument. I've been doing it for like the last 6 weeks. I'm just saying there are other forces at work. You know, the same ones that got their way with playoff expansion today also understand that Alabama logo in the playoff means a whole heck of a lot more on the bottom line than that TCU logo. So you guys want me to be real? Yeah, I'm being real. I would also argue that Pac-12 championship game is going to be interesting because that conference understands that Trojan logo, that's our only shot. That's our only shot. Well, not to be Oliver Stone on you or anything. I'm just saying, since we're going to be real, I'm going to keep it real too. Kansas State, if they get up in the first half, no sweat with TCU. No sweat at all because they've been in that position several times. However, if TCU gets up, if it's them up 17-6, that's an unfamiliar position. Quite frankly, for both teams, it's an unfamiliar position. Just keep an eye on that because those are two different positions that would lead to two totally different comfortability factors. I went back and I was looking at the first time these teams played. I really think Deuce Vaughn needs a better game. I'm not saying he played bad. That's the running back for Kansas State. Didn't have a bad game when they played the first time. He was 12 of 83. He had 4 receptions, 38 yards. Well, he wasn't 12 of 83. He had it 12 times for 83. That's a good day. He has to have an All-American caliber day. Okay, he needs to be in that 17 or 18 carries, 150-plus yards. That's the kind of afternoon he needs. Quite frankly, he needs to give them the same kind of performance they got out of him when Kansas State played Oklahoma State, and they were without Martinez. Turns out didn't matter, but they rode Deuce Vaughn pretty heavily that day. I think they need to do that again here. And the other thing, if you want to flip it to the other side of the field, Quentin Johnson for TCU did not particularly go off. He had 4 catches for 74 yards. So really, 2 of the primetime players in this game, I won't say they were bottled up, because 83 and 74 yards respectively is not bottled up. But, man, they did not get turned loose like we've seen them get turned loose several more times this year. Max Duggan's had a great year. Max Duggan should be in a lot more conversations for postseason awards than he is. 29-3 touchdown to interception ratio this year. I've always been a believer that on like conference championship Saturday, that's where those big-time players step up. I think one of the more overused phrases out there for people just searching for something to say is, oh, big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. But they kind of do. And in this particular case, as we start to think about a pick here, as much as I love Deuce Vaughn, and look, I got immense amounts of respect for the Kansas State program, I think TCU's got a little of that downhill momentum. And I think that not only when you look at Duggan, but when you look at Kendre Miller, the running back there at TCU, 13 consecutive games with at least 1 rushing touchdown. It's not a one-man show. I know that maybe some of the national types would lead you to believe it's Max Duggan and a cast of thousands. No, They got some players here. So here's what I think in relation to the Vegas number. The Vegas number currently, as you see on the bottom of your screen, it's TCU minus 2.5. What are they begging you to do? I would argue they're begging you to lay the points and take the favorite there. TCU's gone this far. Why can't they go one step further? And here's the thing. Sometimes when people set a trap, you think to yourself, I'm quick enough to get in there before it snaps on me. And I am foolish enough to be that person. So I am going to lay the points. I'll show you what the model thinks. The model actually has TCU minus 4. And so the model thinks that not only should the Horned Frogs be favored, we cross 3. It's a very key number in this game. So TCU wins. I'm going to lay the points. I think TCU covers as well. And I know that that makes for a boring Sunday for some of you, depending on what USC does. That makes a boring Sunday for some of you. Look, I'm going to be glued like the rest of you if Kansas State wins comfortably here, but bottom line is TCU has earned the right. At least in my mind, they've earned the right. And I think I'm going to say something, and we're going to move on because I don't really say this very often because I don't traffic in this sort of thing, but I think this is true. If this were, let's say, a Florida State logo instead of a Horned Frog logo, if this were a Michigan logo, and everything else was the same, if this was a Texas logo, if this was an Oklahoma logo, do you honestly think we would be talking about the different scenarios with which that team could be left out? No, they'd actually be probably ranked ahead of either Georgia or Michigan right now. So I've never done it on air, but there it is. There's the Horned Frog sign. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Make sure you like the video and please subscribe to the channel. Not just for me, that's how we keep this entire thing free.